everybody. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Psychedelic Abyss. Now, first hearing it, it might sound like a morbid thing, but trust me, it's not. It's actually beautiful. So, over this weekend, I was at a music festival with my brother and a couple friends, and I was on a little bit of mushrooms. Quote, a little bit of mushrooms. I didn't weigh it, probably, under a gram, and they were some really strong mushrooms, might I add in there. But, yeah, this weekend I really noticed this thing that for a year or two now I've called the Psychedelic Abyss. And, to get right into it, what it is it's a visual phenomenon, and it occurs on light to moderate doses of psychedelics, and it does happen in higher doses, but it's more so everything you're seeing is this psychedelic abyss, which I can talk about a little bit later, but for now I'm going to be sticking to when you see this psychedelic abyss thing just beginning to come into fruition. So it takes place on light to moderate doses of psychedelics, and it occurs really between two major stages of the experience. The first being the visual acuity phase, where everything just appears to be fully detailed and rich and saturated in color, and every edge is fine-tuned, and you can just pick out everything you're seeing very well. That's the first stage, and the other stage is when things begin to morph and drift around and blossom and begin to actually transform in front of your very eyes. This psychedelic abyss thing I'm talking about happens right snug in between those two stages, because that was really where I found myself the entire weekend. I tripped twice, and the two times I tripped, it was this: I'm just about to and just beginning to see things moving and drifting and transforming, but I'm not really tripping, but I am, and that's where I saw this psychedelic abyss thing. So, basically, you're on a light dose of psychedelics, and you catch yourself looking at something very, in sober talk, very mundane, maybe boring and uninteresting, or nothing sort of spectacular about it. And you are just in awe. You are just in awe at the sight of this thing, because it takes on this sort of surreal appearance. And this surreal appearance I'm talking about is the psychedelic abyss. And it is enhanced when you stare at things. It is enhanced when you stare at things. You might not even catch it. If you don't, just sit down and stare at something for a little while. And it's characterized by the light that you're seeing and the patterning that is apparent in front of you. So I'll tell you about the experience I had just this weekend. Whenever I would stare into something or stare at something, be it lasers or these glowing lights that were transitioning through colors, or even the trees or the fire, or the crowd, when I would stare at it, it would all seem to sort of deepen and become seemingly this infinite thing in front of me, and visually. And it's just this moving, morphing form. Things are just happening in front of my vision, and it looks utterly alien. It looks completely different than how it would look when you were sober. And like I said, this effect really takes place when you're staring. Now, like in particular, I was shining this laser out into the woods at night, and it had this thing where you could turn this little dial, and it would make the lights come together and blow apart and come together and blow apart. And as I stared at this, I literally got like disoriented because my spatial orientation of where I was disappearing. You know how when you're staring and things get all fuzzy and dark and you can't really make out what you're seeing, you just kind of look past what you're seeing? Well, that's really what brings you into this psychedelic abyss, is when you look past everything. And I was seeing all these lasers doing their thing, but they were coming from everywhere. They were coming from everywhere, you know, and they were doing spirals around the trees and running up and down them and moving and darting through the woods, and it was there, it was alive, you know what I mean? And I was looking at just basically black with all these thousands of beautiful lights that were coming together and moving apart, and I really can't describe this phenomenon I'm talking about, but I was just looking at lasers, you know? I was just looking at lasers, and to me, it was like I was floating through space, and the lasers were alive, and everything was energy, and everything else about the world seemed to dissolve into this blackness. And, you know, that's why I call it the abyss, is because when you're looking at intense light and intense pattern, like generally psychedelic-like patterns that, you know, you would find at a festival, like lasers and glowing lights and tapestries and whatnot, they deepen and become infinite, and you're looking into this alien dimension. You're looking into this completely foreign thing that is happening right in front of you, and the second you like look at what you're doing and correct your eyes and, oh shit, that was crazy, you realize that you come out of it. And I began to realize there's this thing that comes over when you stare, when you just sit and stare. And yes, specifically this is a visual phenomenon, but my God, it soon becomes a emotional and physical phenomenon, because you find yourself like you can't stay calm at how spectacular and how insane what you're looking at looks, you know. And I could be looking into the fire, and the way the ember cherry is flickering through the wood is utterly mesmerizing. And the flames moving around and disappearing, or the coals like glowing red, and dust and sparks, and you look at the ground and the dirt with all the twigs and rocks, and everything is just this beautiful, it's like art. It's like everything you look at during this stage was made to be looked at by people who are tripping. It's this really weird feeling that everything is just so beautiful. Everything is just so intricate and detailed and deep, and so I don't know how to describe it besides describing specific experiences I had. And then, you know, I'll stick to this weekend because it is something that's happened to me for a while now, and it's really just the world you find yourself in when you stare while on psychedelics. But yeah, at the festival this weekend, there was this like box made of tapestries, and there was this light in the center of them that was glowing and slowly shifting through different colors, randomized colors. And I became completely entranced in this tapestry box. Not only were the tapestries changing colors because of the light behind them, but they were changing colors in different parts of them. Like, if a green light came on behind this tapestry, like, only this part would turn green and the others would turn a different color. And it was giving me the impression that there were tons of different colors going off, and I couldn't tell what color I was actually seeing. And not only that, on top of that, it was literally making it look like the tapestry was changing in front of my eyes into different types of tapestries. Every single color that would come through, as it changed into the next one, it would slowly morph into this different tapestry, this different pattern, you know? And it was blowing my mind because it looked like a magic trick. It literally, I'm looking at it going, what am I seeing right now? You know what I mean? Or, you know, another example, looking at just sitting out in front of the stage in the crowd, and they had these crazy psychedelic lights and lasers on the stage, and all the vendor tents next to me with their trippy posters and lights and whatnot. Yeah, I had taken some mushrooms and I was staring, and everything was just this dancing form, this beautiful shifting light and color and pattern, and beautiful, you know. And at one point there was this old guy that was shaking his laser in front of the fire, because when you would do that, it would make the laser look like it's like this friggin' thick, you know what I mean, because he's moving it so fast. And the smoke moving through the laser, it like gave like a 2D print image of what the smoke looked like a moment ago. It was so friggin' trippy. But this is kind of like a trip report type thing, but I really am just talking about when you stare while you're on psychedelics, you see another dimension. You see something else going on. And it doesn't need to be fully morphing and moving and changing pattern or whatever. Just the mere movement of the world itself while on a low dose of psychedelics is awe-inspiring, mind-blowing. But yeah, that's really it for this video. I hope you know what I'm talking about, this Psychedelic Abyss thing. But if not, you know, I can chat with you in the comments about it. Maybe I'll find better words in text form to describe it. But that's really it for this video, the Psychedelic Abyss. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with more.